to all of you gathered here, the dignitaries, the members of the press, team from Jeevan Sarthakate, Mohan Foundation, and my dear fellow Sparshians. It is a joyous moment for SPARSH Group of Hospitals as we celebrate the achievement of yet another milestone, the launch of SPARSH Multi-organ Transplant Center, which takes us closer to our vision and promise to Karnataka to be a leader in healthcare and serve as a destination for complexities. Namma ಧ್ಯೇಯ ವಾಕ್ಯ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಭರವಸೆ. This has been possible under the guidance and support of our dynamic and humble leader, Dr. Sharan Shivraj Patil, who, albeit being a doctor with a busy schedule, has stood behind the team and his fellow doctors, encouraging, striving, and supporting us to deliver the best to mankind. And today is the culmination of all those efforts. At SPARSH, we do not consider this as an obligation, but as an opportunity to touch the lives of people we serve. On this note, I would like to invite the dignitaries on the dais. Our chairman, Dr. Sharan Patil, the guest of honor, and our professional colleague and Minister for Medical Education, Health and Family Welfare, Government of Karnataka, Honorable Dr. K. Sudhakar, and Dr. Kumar Dittal, Program Director, Heart and Lung Transplant, SPARSH Group of Hospitals. I'd like to invite Dr. Arun Kumar, nephrologist and transplant physician, to give the welcome honor.
On this auspicious occasion, I welcome Honorable Minister, Medical Education and Health and Family Welfare, who has adored this occasion. I would like to ask our chairman to do the honors. I welcome our beloved chairman, Dr. Sharan Shivraj Patil, who has graced this occasion and has motivated us in all ways possible to establish SPARSH Multi-organ Transplant Center. I welcome world-renowned cardiothoracic surgeon and cardiothoracic lung transplant surgeon, Dr. Kumar Dittal, on this occasion of the launch of the most advanced MOTC in our country. Good evening, one and all. Every day, people of all ages and background become recipients and donors of organs, eyes, and tissues. With this altruism, lives are transformed. Donor of an organ, he or she is a giver who gave to the very end. Recipients of an organ, he or she receives the dream and keeps it alive till the end. Organ transplant is one of the major successes of modern medicine in the second half of this last century. Organ donation has saved thousands of lives, transformed and extended thousands more. Organ donor and donor's family live a life of a martyr. He or she is remembered for the altruism and lives etched in the memory of the recipient and their family. Today, organ and tissue transplantation is a modality of treatment for all end-stage organ failure, be it liver, pancreas, kidney, bone marrow, heart and lung. Transplantation of organs and tissue is a success story, even though there are challenges in transplantation, with the global database of 94 countries in 2019 stating that the total disease donation done is 21,489, and currently the world is doing around 1 lakh solid organ transplantations around 68,250 kidney, 19,850 liver, 5,179 heart, 3,245 lung, and 2,977 pancreas transplants are done every year. And when we look at the same data with the Indian perspective, the ISOT established the organ transplant registry in 1970s, and rapidly more than 100 hospitals have been following the protocol of the ISOT, and a total estimate of around 3,000 kidneys, 1,500 livers, less than 250 heart, and around 100 lung transplants are done in a year in our country, which is way less when you compare to the international average. Coming to Karnataka, the cadaver donation program, which is pioneered by the JSK or the SOTO, in cadaver transplant, Karnataka stands at third position presently. From 2007 to 2021, about 1,632 organs have been transplanted, and most of the patients are doing well. But last year, there has been a tremendous jump from position for the state of Karnataka. From 5th or 6th position, they have jumped directly to 3rd position with 70 donations of cadaver donation has happened through Karnataka. But most of the transplants have happened not in Karnataka but elsewhere, because heart and lungs are transported to other states. So utilization rate has been low, whereas the hand of donation has been bigger from our state. So hence, there needs a center which can cater to the public of our state so that maximum utilization of the organ happens within our state. And when we look at the wait list of kidney and liver, it is 2,733 respectively for kidney and liver patients in our state. So which is way lesser when compared to the international standards. And for a population of 135 crore Indians, we just do mere 0.00003% of transplant. So we have a long way to go. So our government of the day, and under the able leadership of Dr. K. Sudhakar sir, SOTO, and our vibrant and enigmatic leader, Dr. Sharan Shivraj Patil, and joining of Dr. Kumud Dittal to our team, this makes us to embark on a journey to make our state to be the model state in organ and tissue transplantation. So every day we hear a new kidney, liver, pancreas, bone marrow, hand, and now at the end of the day we have Dr. Kumud Dittal, who is world renowned in cardiac thoracic surgery, who has joined our SPARSH family of transplant. It gives us a new vigor to touch more lives with heart and lung organ failure care, and also, if needed, we'll do the heart and lung transplantation as well. And we want to reach the pinnacle of multi-organ transplantation. So there is a saying which says, you have to be odd to be number one. So we at SPARSH family think it is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. I welcome all the dignitaries on the dais, Ms. Lijamon, Chief Transplant Coordinator, and her team in JSK, members of the press, Mohan Foundation, Mr. Sridhar is representing, police, traffic police, forensic experts, and my dear fellow Sparsians. I welcome all for the gathering.
I request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly light the lamp.
Dipajjoti paramam
of multi-organ transplant. We now have an audio visual of our multi-organ transplant work. Consultant cardiothoracic and heart-lung transplant surgeon and lead multi-organ transplant at SPARSH Group. Having rich experience of 26 years in this field, he qualified in medicine from Oxford University, obtained his cardiothoracic surgical training from Guy's and St. Thomas Hospital, London, and specialist transplant fellowship from Papworth Hospital, Cambridge in the United Kingdom. He has worked as a cardiothoracic and transplant surgeon at senior positions in the United Kingdom, Europe, and Australia. Before joining us in India, he was the program director for the Heart and Lung Services at the Alfred Hospital, Melbourne, as well as the professor of cardiothoracic surgery and transplantation at the Monash University. He has recently stepped down as the chairman of the Heart and Lung Committee of Transplantation Society, which is the main international platform representing all organ and tissue transplantations. Dr. Dittal is globally renowned for being the surgical pioneer of donation after circulatory death, or DCD as it is called, heart transplantation, which he carried out at St. Vincent's Hospital in Sydney, where he worked for a decade. Finally, he has significant experience in medical education, research, and has been involved in transplant-related policy making nationally and internationally. I would now like to ask Dr. Dittal to give you an overview of our Multi-Organ Transplant Center.
Good afternoon, Honourable Minister, Chairman, important dignitaries, Ms. Lidja from the Jivaswada Karthik Mohan Foundation representatives, members of the press, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take you briefly over the next 10-15 minutes over why this Multi-Organ Transplant Center is here, what it can achieve, in the context of trying to make Bangalore and therefore Karnataka really the center of organ transplantation in India. Not only is that geographically, I think, a duty for us, but more importantly, from what you've just heard, with the number of organ donations slowly on the rise in the state, but majority of those not being utilized or being exported, we have a duty to make sure that those organs are used predominantly for local needs, for local recipients, and hopefully with local staff and infrastructure. So you've heard some of that statistics. I'll have very little statistics in this presentation. Over 500,000 people in India are dying every year from lack of donated organs and tissues on the whole. And the donation rate is somewhere around 0.86 at the last count. As a comparison, Spain or some parts of the US are over 40, mid-40s. So 45 donations per million population. Somewhere in Europe and Australia is in the sort of 15s or so. So the incidence of organ failure is rising. People are living longer. And in fact, we've taken the upper age limit of recipients. So we transplant not based on an upper ceiling, but based on their physiological makeup, how they are with their protoplasm. And so somebody could be 70 and still be transplanted. The oldest I've done for hearts and lungs is 74, but they had the body of somebody much younger. So the age has come off, which means that we have now a burden of older patients with more complex, more comorbidities, some of whom also require multiple or combined transplants. And of course, I'm just going to go through the rest of these basic things about and features about transplantation. So it's a misunderstanding that transplantation is purely a surgical feat. It is an important part of that process, but only a small part of the process. And it is very little to do about discharge from hospital. I don't take a discharge from hospital to be success, certainly not for my lung and heart patients, because they need to live after they've had their transplant for longer than they would have lived had I not operated on them. Had the team not intervened, how long would they have lived? And they need to surpass that milestone. And there's some medical conditions where you can gain that within just days or weeks. Others would have to survive months if you can say that they've done them really any good in terms of their quality of life, improvement of the symptoms, and their longevity. So it's all about teamwork, and integrated teamwork of so many professional experts, which I will allude to in a moment. And we know that that delivers the best outcomes. And best outcomes also come from volume, and I will touch on that in a brief moment. And so it's also expensive, and the idea of triplicating or multiplying so many times these infrastructures in a state or in a country seem very hard on the economy when in fact so much other health needs are there. It is a commitment that is there 24 hours a day. And so individuals who really work in these fields are committed obsessively, and it is what makes it tick and work. And here are some of, this is not pretty comprehensive, but there's still others I've missed out, like we just heard about the police force that help us so much with the green corridors and making transportation easier, getting donor organs to the recipient. And not to forget our regulatory authority that does so much in coordinating and making sure that we're keeping up with standards. Multi-organ transplant centers allows us to consolidate the teams together, speak the same language, and that improves the quality of what you do. And the people around you start to learn and be much more familiar. Recipients and families are much easier in terms of counseling because they see the atmosphere where everybody knows the language that we're speaking in regard to transplantation, because it confers a different lifestyle to them while they wait and while certainly after post-transplant life. So a timely referral is crucial, and it's one of the biggest problems we have in India, is the timely referral of people with end-stage organ failure actually getting to a transplant or organ failure center. Often they're referred way too late, so that their outcomes are poor. When we see them early, we can really engage them. The trust becomes very important. If they have not built a relationship with us, we cannot then guarantee their long-term survival. Surprisingly, that trust translates into patients, recipients becoming much more compliant with the very rigorous follow-up and surveillance protocols that are in place that allows them to survive the medium to long term. Because it's very easy to miss on an episode of rejection. It can go unnoticed. And the more of those you have, the less likely they're to survive into the medium and long term. So we talk about survivorship into the medium and long term, and that requires even the nurses who can have an outreach program, tele-consultations with our patients, and try and keep them at home as much as possible. This is just don't worry so much about the graphs. It's just to show you what the volume and outcomes are in relation to heart transplant. If you look at the top left, it just gives you a scale of center volume in terms of high and low and what they do across all risks. But if you separate out high risk and low risk patients, if you look on the right-hand side, you will see that the low volume centers doing high risk cases gives you very poor outcomes. And this is really true across all the solid organs. In the US, for example, the low center is termed to be some center that does less than 10.5 heart transplants a year. What about heart and lung transplantation? Well, I'm going to take you through some photos. This is our surgical team with Dr. Srinivas there, who's the transplant pulmonologist, of which in India there are only 5, and Dr. Kumar, who is probably one of India's most trained transplant anesthetists and intensivists. Our cardiologists and pulmonologists who support us. And what do we do? So comprehensive cardiac, vascular, and thoracic surgery, adults and pediatric, heart transplant, lung transplants, whether it be single or double or combined heart-lung transplant. And then we do mechanical circulatory support. This is buying time, either for patients who are in such acute failure that we cannot have enough time to get a donor for a transplant, so we can bridge them to a transplant. Or they can have this as a destination therapy if they become untransplantable later, or choose to have one as destination therapy because they're not candidates for a heart transplant. But often it is used as a bridge to transplantation. And these can be short-term or long-term. So I'll show you a couple of pictures later. So these are called ventricular assist devices, or you will have heard, certainly in the last year, much about something called ECMO. Stands for extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. All it is an external lung substitute, or it can be a combined heart-lung substitute. And the COVID pandemic has really caused problems where the use of ECMO across India has been skyrocketing. And that's been used either for recovery or palliation or as a bridge to transplantation. And we have an expert team at being able to do that. Heart transplantation has got very complicated too in terms of left-hand side is what used to be the common transplant of a simple transplant from somebody who's never had an operation before, to the right side, which is really having to explant, take out, so redo the surgery and take out what has been previously put in an artificial heart, and that complicates surgery. So this is how we traditionally, and we still do, transport and preserve organs, and that gives them a finite time within which you have to transplant the organs. And now machines have come in, and you will have heard of some of these in the news. This is an American machine which I've been using since 2006 up until my time in Australia. It's very costly, but it allows you to bring the heart back beating from the donor hospital. And there are others. The one on the right is my own group that's been trying to develop one where you can bring this sitting on the next door to you on a plane seat. So it doesn't take much personnel, very easy logistic, perfused coal, brought back and utilized. And these are others for lung, a whole host of machines. And you'll have heard recently about breathing lung. Well, what that is the one I showed you is really the breathing lung in the sense that it's breathing lung preservation and reconditioning. It's not breathing lung transplantation. And typically, apart from the machine on the bottom right, the others you bring back the lung on ice and then you put it on the machine and you allow it to increase the temperature and breathe, and then you can recondition it, you can toilet it and repair it. And this is how it works. And just to give you an insight into what this is, and I've been using this in Sydney. I was the principal investigator in Australia for this international trial many years ago. And so the lungs are actually inflating and deflating in the ambulance, in the airplane, as you come to the hospital. And the heart, I showed you, the heart is put into the machine and it starts to beat, which allows us to look at its function, look at it biochemically, physiologically, and then decide whether or not it should be used. And this is the very first DCD, or donation after circulatory death, or media have referred to as the dead heart transplant. Forgive me. The dead heart transplant. This is the very first donor heart which didn't look very good, and we worked on it, and this is the sort of power of this machine, is that it gives us time without the heart losing its nutrients and oxygen and blood supply, and then later on I transplanted that heart, and that lady's doing very well beyond 7 years since 2014 now. I just want to throw these numbers out to you. I'm not going to say what the inference is. I leave that to you. On the left-hand side are some data from Jiva Sarthakatake, which tells us some of the numbers that you heard earlier on in the introduction. These are the approved number of transplant centers: 18 heart, 16 lung, 53 kidney, 21 livers across Karnataka. I'm assuming that their list is valid and the licenses have been kept up. But the number of organs retrieved since 2007 to 21, a span of 14 years, are those that you see on the second column. And I'm assuming that all of those retrieved were transplanted. It excludes those retrieved from multi-organ transplants. That gives us a transplant per year of 10.6 hearts in Karnataka, 4.5 lungs, 64 kidneys, and 37 livers. If you translate that, extrapolate into number of organ transplants per center per year, then you will see we'd be doing less than 1 transplant per center per year of heart, a third of 1 in lungs, 1.2 kidneys per center, and less than 2 liver transplants per center in 1 year. For a center to do 1 transplant across Karnataka, it would take almost 2 years for hearts, 3.3 years for lungs, 10 months for kidneys, and about nearly 7 months for liver. To get 10 transplants, you can see the last column. It would be significant. And if you remember the statistics that Dr. Arun told us about, nearly 3,000 on the wait list for kidneys, how do we match this? How do we make it work? So lung transplants, just here, this is a nice pair of donated lungs which go in. This is an X-ray post-transplant. You can hardly see that the patient's had anything done. We're increasingly moving towards doing these small incisions when we can. Otherwise, we'll go across. And you can see it's very cosmetic, certainly for women. Mechanical circulatory support are ways of putting in these more permanent devices, heart pumps, artificial, that have a lead coming out into an electrical circuit that allows you then to stay alive until your transplantation, or as long as you want it kept in. And there are various other iterations of this. Certainly 3 or 4 of them are available in India, and these are total artificial hearts that can also be utilized, yet to make inroads into India. ECMO is a way of keeping patients alive that I mentioned earlier on, and just to give you a flair, we have this expert team that recently has also been out retrieving interstate. Logistically, it requires a lot of people, a lot of equipment, and of course it requires the great help from the police force to give us the green corridor to make sure that we can do these things expediently, not just in bringing patients back, but also with transport of organs. Kidney program and the nephrology program at SPARSH is very mature. Again, here you see the nephrology team at the various centers in the SPARSH units, and the surgical team, and what they do. So they do preemptive renal transplants. Now, this is really a game-changing transplantation. Very few of these are done, but it gives you better results. This is when you transplant somebody way before they need dialysis, but they're deteriorating, but haven't quite got to the point of dialysis. And that is not only economically sound, but it's medically sound when you can do it. But of course, the numbers of people waiting far outbalance the ability to do this. But when it's possible, it certainly is a very good way to transplant kidneys and allow patients to live longer and more free of rejection episodes. So ABO, this is blood group mismatch that's occurring increasingly across solid organs. Pediatric HLA sensitized, that just means that you're HLA sensitized, meaning you have an immunological problem of finding appropriate donors and less chance of finding a donor. So you go across these, what used to be taboos, but now we can cross those lines with safer protocols in place. And this can only be done in places that are mature, have the expertise and the team to be able to look after these patients in their peri and post-operative phase. And of course, they're the dual organs: liver, kidneys, kidney, pancreas, heart, lung, kidney, and finally swap paired kidneys, where you've got a pair of donor recipient who don't match, that you match with another donor recipient somewhere else. There's a cross-matching, and therefore both groups end up gaining from this mode of transplantation. And this is just showing you a kidney on the left from a cadaveric donor to how those kidneys are then prepared in the operating room to it being transplanted, and you see there on the right a transplanted kidney. This is just a very brief video just to show you how through little only laparoscopic holes, through telescopic holes, endoscopic holes in the abdomen, our surgeons are able to take out the single kidney from a donor with the minimal of invasiveness, if you will, with small access, so that the recipient, the living donor here, suffers least, and you're able to take out a very healthy kidney for a good transplant subsequently. I'll just let that run for a few minutes so you can see it. So these are all the vascular structures of the kidney being isolated, dissected, and carefully cut so that there's no internal bleeding, particularly as that could be a disaster when you're trying to get away with very small holes. But you can see that internally with these telescopes you get excellent visualization and exposure of the anatomical structures. And that's the most important there, the renal artery that comes off the aorta, and that too, as you'll see, will get stapled, and then the kidney will be removed. And the liver program, again, has important hepatologists, gastroenterologists who contribute to the ongoing care of the patients before the referral and peri and post-operatively. And we have our surgeons, anesthetists and surgeons in that same team. And what do? Well, it's all about complex liver disease. Cirrhosis is very common. The end-stage liver failure numbers are rising, certainly, although I have to say hepatitis C-related conditions are going to get better because that is now eminently treatable. But you can see that they go through a whole gambit of adult and pediatric and complex living and cadaveric liver transplantations. So here you go. Left-hand side is what a cirrhotic liver would look like. In the middle is a donor, living donor liver that's transected. So only part of the donor's liver is taken for transplantation, which you see on the right-hand side. Bone marrow is, again, another very mature transplant sector for SPARSH. The important clinicians are here. And you'll have to forgive me for leaving the photos out of so many other people who are involved in this enormous teamwork. But so for bone marrow, it's all about where the cells really come from. They either come from yourself or somebody else, and whether it's related or unrelated. And if it's a twin, it's called syngeneic. But at SPARSH, particularly at Yeshwanthpur, there's a very dedicated service with very good infrastructure. Here's a team to allow all aspects of bone marrow transplants taking place, not just for national, but also international recipients. And some of the facilities here you'll see. And here is autologous stem cells being harvested from a child, and then the team showing you that in that little blood bag that harvested bone marrow. And then here the peripheral blood stem cells being harvested. And then finally, I want to just mention a few other important points. That the Multi-organ Transplant Center allows you to have an in-house, also clinical and research trial center, which is important when you start having numbers. You need to be innovating. You can't just be doing the clinical work. It's not just a conveyor belt. You cannot be good just by being a conveyor belt. Somebody has to be involved in researching, innovating what is next. Whether you're designing a machine in a factory or here, we're designing, thinking of how best to treat patients in the future as new therapies come on board. It's actually sometimes going down to the basics of actually thinking completely new out of the box that may end up becoming useful in the clinical arena. We want to have the prospective clinical data collection to be able to be transparent with our data so that Ms. Lija, where she sits in the regulatory authority, can know exactly what we've done and what our outcomes are. And we hope to have in-house and web-based transplant-related educational support services of patients and relatives. So at any time, they know that there's a scheduled educational supportive courses that are being run, classes, so that they can engage in to allay their fears and be comfortable knowing that they're very well informed. And then affiliated translation research laboratories to really do that innovative work so that we're involved in innovating evolving this practice of organ transplantation. Now, I should also point out that if India could increase its donation rate to even 4 or 5 per million population, we'd be doing so many transplants that we would be writing all the evidence papers in the world and everybody else would be looking here because you would have the largest registry of transplant recipients. And finally, the belief here at SPARSH is the one of collaboration, and it is about interinstitutional collaboration and also involving public-private relationships so that we can maximize, leverage what we have in this center to help others at other institutions and then end up with co-sharing, co-managing those patients who are desperately in need, of which there are many with end-stage failure in Karnataka. Thank you very much. And finally, I'll leave you with that.
Dr. Sharon Patel, our chairman, SPARSH Group, is a renowned orthopedic surgeon specializing in joint replacement and complex trauma. A philanthropist who had a strong desire to serve his own countrymen that made him leave his promising and comfortable career in the UK and move back to India. Youngest person to obtain his MCH from United Kingdom, he moved to Manipal Hospital in Bangalore as their youngest consultant. His dream of taking high-quality medical care to the masses resulted in the birth of SPARSH hospitals. What started out as a single specialty hospital has grown into a group of multi-specialty hospitals in and around Bangalore. Today, yet again, he has turned the page of history by realizing his one more dream, putting all organ transplant under one roof by launching SPARSH Multi-organ Transplant Center. Presenting Dr. Sharon Patel to share his thoughts on the multi-organ transplant, his new milestone.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. Honorable Health Minister, Dr. Sudhakar, my dear colleagues, friends, and from Mohan Foundation and Jiva Sarthakate, who are all doing brilliant work in this area, and members of the media. It's an absolute privilege for SPARSH to be involved in this space. There's a very close friend of mine called Dr. Suri, one of the, if not the most, one of the most renowned joint replacement surgeon in the country, and he's from Chennai. And it was aghast when we realized that he needed lung transplant. He is a very active surgeon, but chronically suffering with lung problems. So he comes from a very humble background, worked his way up for more than 30 years of great career, one of the top surgeons. He had to go to Cleveland Clinic to get a lung transplant done. And it cost him 5 crores of rupees. And he had to stay there for more than 8 months to be able to come back. Today, he's living a healthy life. I'll tell you, precisely him has been the inspiration for today's program. One of the most distinguished surgeons of this country had to spend all the money he had to go and get a lung transplant surgery done is a kind of, if you take it as an insult to our medical fraternity and our capability to achieve the same results here. We boast ourselves of having a great system, boast ourselves of great skill sets, and why not we do this? For me, being a doctor entrepreneur has been the most amazing journey of taking this kind of initiatives and serving our people and to achieve distinction of achieving great results in our own country. And I have no doubt in my mind, the skill sets, the talent sitting in this room can take us to the pinnacle of healthcare in the world, because nobody works as hard as we do. Nobody has the empathy that an Indian culture gives, and nobody is as committed as us. We just need the discipline, and we need a platform to perform. As a doctor entrepreneur, I feel it's my duty to produce or give this platform for people to achieve this.
First thing is we need to build great amount of awareness about organ transplant. ಇದು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ, ಇದು ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಜನರಿಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡೋದೇ ಎಲ್ಲಾಗಿನ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಶ್ರಮ ಪಡಬೇಕು. With the help of government, all the education institutions and all of us put together, especially the media, has to convey to the people, ಇದು ಇವತ್ತು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ, ಇದು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಇದರಿಂದ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಜೀವನ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡೋದೇ ಎಲ್ಲಾಗಿನ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ್ದು. ಈಗ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ 80% ಜನ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಡೈ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ ಆರ್ಗನ್. 80%, only 20% of them get the organ. Of course, we say it's cost, it's expensive. Definitely, we as a nation can work around the cost and see how all of us can come together and do this. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, SPARSH wants to make Bangalore proud anta. Why I am saying that? Bangalore is the most poised. Our state is poised to take leadership in organ transplant, in my view. Why we are saying that? I can tell you, not because the Honorable Minister is sitting here, no state in this country is as progressive as our state. And there's a tremendous support from the government. The Jiva Sarthakate works so well. And we do have little milestones, little legislations to amend, but we can be the leaders with this great support of the government and its machinery. And I believe with so many medical schools, so much of talent, we have the skill sets to do this. Technology and equipment is the same, whether we do it in US, Germany, or here, it's the same equipment. And if you look at the technology, Bangalore is the hub of technology. If you want to do something, you can do it here. This is the place where most of the technology is born. I can tell you proudly that most of the national healthcare startups are from Bangalore. It's amazing. More than 60 to 70% today of the healthcares have started in Bangalore. I have no hesitation in taking the names. The Wockhardt and Fortis is Bangalore. Columbia Asia is Bangalore. Manipal Hospital is Bangalore. Narayana Hrudayalaya is Bangalore. HCG is Bangalore. Aster is Bangalore. Look at this. There are very few other than Bangalore who are national players today. SPARSH is a small contribution towards this. But I can tell you for sure, this atmosphere of our state breeds enterprise. And we are taking one more step to make this a hub for our country, and not only for serving our Karnataka, our people, but from everywhere. Just now, Dr. Kumod was talking about a patient shifted from Ambala. A patient was shifted from Ambala. Our people took an air ambulance, went in the middle of the night, put the patient on ECMO, shifted him to our hospital, and the patient is still in our hospital. Today, the entire state of Punjab is talking about one of the important members of that society is shifted to Bangalore, and we are taking care of them. This is a pride for us to be able to do this. Cost reduction. Just simply, I'm telling you, cost reduction. Cost is not the only factor. It is expensive, no question about it. But with collaboration, all of us don't have to do this job. With collaboration, already we are tying up with many hospitals. We can collaborate. If we produce a high volume center, the cost will come down. Dr. Kumud and my entire team is ready to sit down and innovate and produce equipment and machinery which can cost less. We have Dr. Alban, who has joined us as a research person, and he is ready to bring industry and the medical people together to produce equipment. All the magical equipment, what you saw on that presentation, can be produced at a much lesser cost with a little bit of involvement of the industry and our medical people. So much is possible. Dr. Devi Shetty, who's the proud person we have in our own state, brought down the cost of cardiac surgery remarkably. How did he do that? Purely the volume, the in-prep processes, so much of use of technology. All this is possible, and we have so much possible in this state, and we at SPARSH are committed to take organ transplant to the next level. Every time I speak to Dr. Sudhakar, he talks about public-private initiative. This government can produce great infrastructure, and private sector combining with them can produce great results. We at SPARSH always look at the larger good. We are not looking at SPARSH ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟ್ಲು ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರನೇ ಬರಬೇಕು, ನಮಗೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತಿಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಓವರಾಲ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗೆ ಹೆಸರು ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನರಿಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂತೋಷ ಮತ್ತು ಖುಷಿ. ಸೊ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಇನಿಷಿಯೇಟಿವ್, ನಾನು ಈಗಲೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೆ, ವಿ ವೆಂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮೆಟ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮಂಜುನಾಥ್ ಅಟ್ ಜಯದೇವ. ವಿ ಸೆಡ್, ನಮ್ಮಿಂದ ಏನಾದರೂ ಜಯದೇವ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಟ್ರೈನ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲಂಗ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್, ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರು ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಬಂದು ಫೆಲೋಶಿಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ತೊಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ ನಾವು ಸಿದ್ಧ. ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ವಿತ್ ಓಪನ್ ಆರ್ಮ್ಸ್. ಅವರ್ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಇಸ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಅಸ್ ಟು ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್. There are many initiatives our government is taking. I know for a fact, Dr. Deepak is sitting here, the trauma center, sir, what you have done as an organ harvesting center is a great initiative, because so many people die and they realize afterwards they could have donated the organs. A good initiative to educate them, make them aware how many lives they can save. The most important thing is everything has to be done ethically. Everything has to be above board. That's when a whole program can go wrong with few rotten apples. And that for SPARSH is non-negotiable. We do nothing which is below the line. We have to do everything which is above board. We might not like some of the legislation, some problems we might have. We will complain, crib and cry about it, but we will never do anything which is not ethical. That is the commitment every member of SPARSH will give you. All in all, ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಒಬ್ರು ಯಾರೋ ಸರ್ಜನ್ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಂದು ಲಂಗ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಊರ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್. ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಯ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮೊದಲಿಂದನೇ ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ಬೇಕು. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಆರ್ಗನ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಈಗಲಿಂದನೇ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಸರ್ಜರಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಸರ್ಜರಿ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ದಿನನಿತ್ಯ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಆಶ್ವಾಸನೆ ಬೇಕು. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಎವ್ರಿ ಡೇ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಲುಕ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದೆಮ್. ದ ಏಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪರ್ಶ್ ಈಸ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಕೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ದೆಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಎಂಡ್ ಟು ಎಂಡ್. ಬರೀ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು ಅದು ಮೂರ್ಖತನ ಅದು. ಸೊ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಕೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ದೆಮ್ ಎಂಡ್ ಟು ಎಂಡ್. ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಬಯಸ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ, ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಮುಂದುವರಿತದೆ, ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಏನೇನೋ ಸಾಧನೆಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಮುಂದುವರಿತದೆ. ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್. ಆ ಸೈನ್ಸು ನಾವು ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಡೂ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್, ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಡೂ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸೊ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಇಟ್. ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಸೈನ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಗೆ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಆದರೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ, ನಾನಾ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಪಡೆಯೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಟು ಕ್ಯೂರ್ ಎ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್, ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ರೀಸನ್ಸ್, ಮೇ ಬಿ financial reasons, logistic reasons, legislative reasons, or whatever reasons. If that happens, it is a shame. If medical science has advanced, it has to reach to most people. So all of us sitting in this room, including the government, society, the doctors, the entrepreneurs, organizations, have to feel a sense of guilt. If medical science can do it, but we are not able to do it for our own making, our own reasons, it is a pity. And we will be able to take leaps and bounds of steps to achieve this. At SPARSH is very happy to contribute towards this. And I assure you, we will be the people, the Bangalore, the Karnataka state can easily be the people to lead this country and to be known as an organ transplant center in the world. Thank you very much, sir, for being here.
Our next speaker is a person who needs no introduction. The Minister of Medical Education, Health and Family Welfare, a doctor who understands the challenges of his fellow medical colleagues better than the others. His handling of the recent pandemic is an example of his statesmanship. He has many firsts to his name, being the youngest cabinet minister, a first place for the e-governance jury award for COVID-19 war rooms, and many more. Under his able guidance, Bangalore has achieved 100% vaccination for the first dose. His contribution in setting up dedicated organ transplant hospital under public health care is highly appreciated by everyone. I now request him to share his thoughts.
Good evening to all of you. Dr. Sharan Patilji, Chairman, the entrepreneur of SPARSH, Dr. Kumund Dithal, heart and lung transplant surgeon, and all the valuable faculty members from SPARSH and doctors from different institutions, friends from media. It's a great honor and privilege to inaugurate a multi-organ transplant center, which is the first of its kind in the state and probably even in the country. So my wholehearted appreciation and congratulations to the Dr. Sharan Shivraj Patil ji and the entire SPARSH family. I've always been noticing Dr. Sharan. We are neighbors. Since the time he has come back from UK, he has started his profession in Manipal Hospital, and from there he started with exclusive facility treating orthopedic patients. From a single disciplinary approach, he has moved on to multi-speciality in multiple locations in Bangalore and other places. And now he has started a multi-organ transplant center in Bangalore. This is really for a Bangalorean and for Karnataka, for the people of Karnataka. This is a moment of pride, in my opinion. It's a great pride, and state government really appreciates this move. And as government, as health minister, I would like to iterate that we stand by SPARSH in all your good endeavors. And the timing has been simply right. Post-COVID, during COVID, we have come across many people losing their lives. Basically, their lungs used to suffer. Lung failures, they needed lung transplants. But we all know that lung transplants in India is a very, very rare. I only knew that in Hyderabad, in Chennai, there were one surgeons each. In Bangalore, we did not have any. So, starting this multi-organ transplant center comes in a right time and with right people. I was learning about Dr. Kumund Dithal, who has so much of experience and expertise, knowledge, skill set to do not just one organ transplant, I think multi-organ specialist is. So I was telling Dr. Sharan, we must make best use of Dr. Kumund while he is here. I was told that he has assured 10,000 hours to be here and to serve the society in India. So I really acknowledge your move to move back from US and settle down in Bangalore for the next, I think you should settle down in Bangalore. That is our wish. So we all know that almost 5 lakh people in India die because they don't get organs in time for various reasons. Maybe they can't afford it. The primary reason is that they can't get organ in time. Secondly, of course, it is quite expensive. It's not affordable. Or for some logistic issue, as Dr. Sharanji said. So as government, the moment I took over as a health minister, I had few discussions with my team, especially Jiva Sarthakate. It's a NGO, public-private partnership I would like to establish in this forum. And the organ retrieval center should be developed because we have a very good health ecosystem in Karnataka, medical education. We have close to 65 medical colleges across Karnataka. I don't think any other state in the country has these many numbers. And we are building more. So we need not concentrate only on numbers. We need to build the quality. Quality should be the essence and the forward path in medical education or in healthcare. So in that regard, I given an opportunity and responsibility to Dr. Deepak, who is our BMC Trauma Center head, to start a new organ retrieval center in BMC. And I am trying to bridge the gaps and have an alliance with NIMANS, because we find many brain death cases in NIMANS, but they need a lot more personal, technical people who are well trained to, handle these cases. So in fact, we need to tie up with NIMANS, and they will be the best institution to provide organs. So I would like to start in every medical college a new organ retrieval center. Because hardly about 4% of people are getting organs. Rest of them are succumbing to it. Unfortunately, the organ failures are also on the rise for various reasons, especially the liver failure. I am told in India, fatty liver is one of the primary reasons. So about 80,000 patients require liver transplantation. But unfortunately, we get only 1,500 people. Our population is 1.3 billion people. So what it means to say, understand, is that it is a bent of mind. Many people wouldn't even donate their blood during their lifetimes. Many people. And this has suffered, especially during COVID. Even blood donation exercise was hampered. So we need to do a lot of awareness programs here. In India, we need to do a lot of awareness programs in educational institutions. We need to make people understand one individual can donate to 8 different people after his death. So this is such a great pious thing that one can do after leaving this mortal body. Indians are very spiritual people. We believe in karma and punya. So there cannot be better punya than donating our organs after our death. ಜೀವನ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಬದುಕಿದ್ದಾಗ ರಕ್ತದಾನ, ಮರಣದ ನಂತರ ಅಂಗಾಂಗಗಳ ದಾನ. During living, it's blood donation. After death, it is organ donation. I think with this tagline, Jiva Sarthakate should propagate this in a very big way in Karnataka. At least our government today also happens to be our Chief Minister, our beloved Chief Minister Shri Basuraj Bommai is completing 6 months in office. So his emphasis, the real emphasis, he is laying down on improving our healthcare sector besides education and other important departments. But healthcare has been his very pet issue because we believe a society which is healthy will always be wealthy. So that is why we see in all most advanced nations, they spend like more than 10%, and in US, I think they spend more than 20% of their GDP on healthcare. They are 10 times our budget. We are about 2.3 to 2.5 trillion dollars. I think they are about 23, 24 trillion dollars economy. Out of that, they spend more than 20%, while we spend about 2% of our GDP. So, I really acknowledge our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. Ever since he took over as a Prime Minister, he started investing in healthcare, not just improving the infrastructure. He started building new AIIMS, number of AIIMS institutions coming up in the country. And also he has built more than 175 medical colleges in last 5 years. So the number of medical students is increased by more than 15,000 in the last 5 years. So healthcare in India, especially from the government side, it is completely free of cost. Education and healthcare, we literally don't charge anything to our people. So at the same time, these kind of new innovations and organ transplant procedures are definitely very expensive procedures because of a very expensive machineries that they need to get from other countries. We are still not we are not able to make those equipments in India. Maybe we'll do it quickly. I remember during COVID times, we didn't have any manufacturers even for PPE kits, masks, and so many other equipments. But within a very short span of time, they produced so much. It was not just enough for the country, they were able to even export to other countries. So that is the real strength of this country. We have the proper ecosystem. We have the man-force. We have the workforce, technology. We have the young minds, dedicated people, very hardworking people. So we need to give a right platform to all these people and give an opportunity. The government should be welcoming, and this government will welcome all such noble and innovative methods and new ideas. So we'll always stand up for those entrepreneurs like Dr. Sharan, because this is not, I am not looking this new facility as just a corporate hospital doing multi-organ transplant procedures. He is impacting society at a larger level. I've already requested our specialists from the hospitals, the government hospitals, I want them also to be trained by Dr. Kumud. And you need to create such platforms so that you build trust, more trust with the people of Karnataka, because transplants also needs lot of trust, because many people, they have a taboo about transplant procedures. Still they are not sure whether they can really live after the procedure. Many people, they shy away, they are scared, they would like to live as long their failuring organs allow them to live. They don't want to take that step forward. So as Dr. Sharan rightly said, we need to imbibe lot of confidence in them. Even before the procedure, during the procedure and after the procedure. So this needs a multidisciplinary approach. So all those involved should be trained in a right way. Our government would like to stand up for this. We would like to support in every facet of this new innovative methods. And even our Jivan Sathakate, if you have any regulatory blocks, if there are any bottlenecks, I would like to call a meeting of all the experts concerned, and I will be more than happy to clear such bottlenecks if they are. So, recently we have inaugurated our multi-organ specialty hospital of the government as well. Dr. Nagesh, who is the new director there, our Union Health Minister, Sri Mansukh Bhai, inaugurated this facility. So Karnataka government has always been in forefront in ensuring that we provide highest standards of healthcare to our people. The challenge of any government in health sector space is that we need to provide highest standard of health service at affordable prices or at free. So that is a challenge for the government. We'll work that around, because the number is again the key here. I still remember even a stent used to cost 7-8 lakhs or 10 lakhs some time back. But today I think stent costs 25,000 to 50,000 rupees. And the whole procedure costs less than 1 lakh or around 1 lakh. So to begin with, any technology ridden and high valued procedures do cost, but with time, with numbers, definitely they can work it around, and the government would also like to support and contribute on this. So this is a great honor, and for Karnataka we really feel blessed to have people like Dr. Sharan, who is not just a clinical expert, also an entrepreneur, who is impacting thousands of lives and who would love to touch, because his hospital name is SPARSH. SPARSH is touch. So this touch should touch the millions of Kannadigas and Indians in health sector. I know his father also very eminent, great judge, very spiritual in nature. I think he has got the right pedigree and right thinking, right bent of mind. So I'm very happy to associate and do something good for this state. I thank for the opportunity and wish you all the very best in this great endeavor. Thanks.
I'd like to call Dr. Naveen Ganju, consultant hepatologist and liver transplant physician, to give the vote of thanks.
Good evening, all. I deem it a great honor and privilege to be presenting the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Today marks the day of emergence of SPARSH hospitals in the field of multi-organ transplant. First and foremost, I would like to thank our esteemed chief guest, Honorable Health Minister Dr. Sudhakar, for taking time out of his busy schedule and gracing the occasion. We are in the midst of a pandemic, and we highly commend you, sir, for Karnataka Brain Health, which you recently initiated, a first of its kind in India, launched by Honorable Health Minister recently. Also, I thank you for steps for increasing organ donation that you just announced. It will be an immense help for the mankind. The multi-organ transplant program at SPARSH is the brainchild of our beloved chairman, Dr. Sharan Patil, who has been working relentlessly with the single aim to make transplants more accessible with a touch of life. That is the essence of SPARSH. It is due to his efforts that we have an ensemble of world-class facilities under a single roof to cater to a variety of complex clinical scenarios and ensure the best possible results at the same time. I thank all the members of press and media for being present here to grace today's event. I thank Team Jiva Sarthakate and Mohan Foundation for being a part of this. Without their efforts, the organ transplant program can never be complete in Karnataka. I thank each one of you who have gathered today for being a part of this memorable event. Lastly, and most importantly, I would like to thank people on this occasion who are selfless, kind families who consent for organ donation. Organ donation is a gracious act. It reaffirms our faith in humanity. It is the noblest of all donations, and it gives a fellow human being a chance to live on. We are plagued by this question of, are we doing enough for helping the people who are suffering from organ failures? Today, we are proud to say that we at SPARSH are fully capable to spearhead the cause of organ support and transplant, and aim to be able to reach every needy patient with the help of you all today. I would like to conclude with a quote: "What we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others in the world remains and immortal." Thank you.